we save 25,000 American lives. So every time you see a boat and you feel badly, you say, wow, that's rough. It is rough, but if you lose 3 people and save 25,000 people, these are people that are killing our population. Every boat is saving 25,000 lives, and you can see it. The boats get hit, and you see that fentanyl all over the ocean. It's like floating in bags. It's all over the place, and it's a tremendous. We're saving tremendous amounts of lives.
Yeah, I can't get over the fucking ugly ass tie either, bro. I know it's really it's gross. It's highlighter colored. It's fat. Can you explain what he means when he says we're beating China in AI, brother? Everything he's saying is just made up. What do you mean? If you try to make sense of what he's saying, if you take him at his word, if you take him as a sincere actor, you are going to be lost, okay? There's just not a single fucking thing that he has ever said that is truthful. That's not true. Sometimes he does have a tendency to say the quiet part out loud. Whenever he's talking about like how America operates around the global stage, every now and then, he'll just refuse to entertain the optics of the situation. But in most circumstances, he's just fucking making shit up. The tariffs are doing great. The tariffs are doing a number, filling our coffers. Not true. Okay. We're beating China on this or that. Not true. The idea that like the administration is doing gangbusters and tackling crime. Also not true. They have unironically reallocated budgets, resources, and manpower at the federal law enforcement level directly to interior removal operations. They are doing mass deportations. The FBI is helping the Department of Homeland Security do mass deportations as opposed to tackling fucking sex traffickers and shit. On top of everything else, he is using the government shutdown to try to fire further federal, like people that work in federal agencies. None of it is popular. He's done very little to combat the actual cost of living crisis. Done very little to actually tackle that. Motherfucker said India had a new leader every year until Modi came along, for fuck's sake, Lamau. I mean, it's just, well, on the India front, he says, you know, he's stopped all the wars. He stopped all the wars. That's another one. It's, he's just, everything he says is fucking bullshit. There's nothing criminal about drugs. These are made up crimes. I mean, dude, it's not, it's just one of the many different crimes that the administration doesn't actually tackle, despite the fact that they're saying that they're combating this stuff. Okay. Obviously, the best, most resilient, most successful way to lower the number of overdoses, for example, is to not incarcerate people for drug crimes, but instead to actually rehabilitate people. They're not doing that as much, even though the previous administration did actually have a shift in the priority in the way that they were trying to at least like do clean needle drops and things of that nature. And that actually was very successful in lowering the overdose numbers for the first time in decades. It got such little attention and such little coverage. I was losing my fucking mind. A lot of people say, Hasan, you hate the Democrats. You hate the Democrats more than you hate the Republicans. First of all, that's untrue. But it was one of those things that I actually commended the administration on, even if it made me lose my mind that they never talked about it. Okay? I talked about it all the fucking time. Narcan release and you know, clean needle drops and things of that nature. Like all of these rehabilitative measures actually played a formative role in lowering the number of overdoses in this country for the first time in decades. And the administration wasn't constantly fucking running around talking about how big of a W that was. Harm reduction works. And this administration, the previous administration, unironically did that. And it actually lowered the number of overdoses. Meanwhile, the Republicans, in their endless fever pitch to ensure that only bad things happen in this fucking country, constantly fucking criticized the administration. They were like, oh, they're giving druggies clean needles. How dare they do that? How dare they do that? It's really fucked up. That's what they said over and over again. Meanwhile, it was the first instance where we saw a drop in overdose deaths, man. That was under the Brandon administration. Did you hear that from the Brandon administration ever? Did they ever talk about that? No, they didn't, because they're fucking bad at their jobs, okay? That's just the reality. There are plenty of wonderful people that work in the federal agencies. There are plenty of wonderful people who want to do right by others, even down to like USAID, for example. Even if an institution is established specifically for destabilization or specifically to initiate soft power for American dominance around the globe, ultimately there is still a lot of good that these people do at these institutions, and there's a lot of good people that are working at these institutions trying to do right by others. Okay, and that's something that I recognize all the time. Ironically enough, I have defended the Biden administration more than the Biden administration has defended itself over and over again. We're obviously going to get back to Israel now because there's a fake ceasefire, as you know, that Israel is violating already. Israel's given the U.S. new intelligence, apparently. Let's see. Israel gave the U.S. new intelligence that shows Hamas has access to more bodies than it claims. We don't see Hamas making maximum effort regarding the bodies. We know they can do more, and we don't think anybody should give them any discounts, an Israeli official said. They're most likely still using fake intelligence, as they've done over and over again, in an effort to fucking make it seem as though it's perfectly valid to cut aid into the Gaza Strip, which they have already done so. They've cut the aid in half. Okay? I don't believe Israel, even for a brief moment. Okay? I do not believe Israel at all. They are genociders and they are liars. And the UN is now calling on Israel to open the border crossings. Obviously, there's a couple different things that we're going to talk about here, but one of the things that has taken place in terms of the extraction of the slain captives and what the resistance groups have done so far is they said that this would take time, this initiative of finding where the bodies are and then removing the rubble and extracting those bodies, they said would be an endeavor that takes a lot of time. It's understandable. Israel fucking destroyed Gaza. Okay? Israel destroyed Gaza. Obviously, it's going to take a while for people to fucking find even their relatives, let alone the Israeli captives that were killed. Okay? And in the process, yesterday, Hamas delivered 8 bodies. In the second round, in 4 body batches. Okay? In the second round of 4 bodies that were delivered, okay, Israel claimed that one of the bodies that was released was actually not an IDF soldier. Palestinian resistance source told Al Jazeera Arabic that a body returned by Hamas that Israel claimed was not one of their captives, is actually an IDF soldier, was taken by Qassam fighters in an operation in Jabalia in May 2024. Qassam released a video of it at the time. The identity of this soldier was never publicly confirmed. There's been speculation that the captured soldier was a mercenary rather than an official IDF soldier, but Israel has never publicly acknowledged or identified him. So what's interesting about the second round of 4 was 3 of them were immediately confirmed as Israeli captives. The fourth one, on the other hand, was not. And Israel last night, while we were all sleeping, was going back and forth on whether or not the 4th captive was actually an Israeli citizen or not. Hamas said that the 4th captive who was killed was actually extracted in an operation in the month of May, in May 2024. Okay, here it is. Al Jazeera source in resistance leadership operation to capture and drag soldier's body to one of the tunnels was carried out by a Qassam operation in Jabalia camp in May 2024. This obviously is a major blow to Israel's confidence, is a major blow to the mighty security force that the IDF presents itself as. The very fact that amidst this genocide, that the Al-Qassam Brigade was still able to conduct military operations that struck a blow at the heart of the occupational forces while simultaneously extracting the body of one of the slain soldiers is a major ordeal. So in that process, Israel turned around and claimed that, as a matter of fact, the person that they had extracted in that operation in Jabalia camp in May 2024 was actually a Palestinian human shield. Israel does use Palestinians as human shields. Sometimes Palestinians that they've actually kidnapped in the West Bank, that they send over to the front lines in Gaza, and they actually give them some IDF fatigues. Okay? So there's a little bit of confusion on whether or not this was actually a mercenary that was an armed combatant that was extracted in this operation and brought into the tunnels, or if it was actually a Palestinian that was being used as a human shield. For those of you that are oblivious to this reality, that is right. A Palestinian human shield is normal process for Israel. Okay? This, weirdly enough, has actually forced Israel's hand into revealing that they use openly Palestinians as fucking human shields. There's been plenty of Haaretz reporting on the matter, as you guys know. There's been plenty of Israeli reporting on the matter. It's called a mosquito protocol. That's what they call it, where they will take Palestinians, they'll apprehend and detain Palestinians in both the Gaza Strip and maybe sometimes even in the West Bank, and they will put them in front of their teams. They will like forcibly handcuff these Palestinian prisoners, Palestinian hostages, and will push them in front of their teams in order to draw out Hamas fighters or resistance fighters. Okay? Fourth body handed over by Hamas, said to be of West Bank Palestinian, used by IDF in Gaza as a human shield. Emmanuel Fabian and all of the Israeli media is openly recognizing the insane fucking practice of using Palestinians as fucking human shields now. Now, of course, the Hamas video that was released on May 26, 2024 showed weapons that they took off of his body. And Israel claims that these are not weapons that they would give to the Israeli security forces. Okay? Which is why the speculation is either that he was a Palestinian, he was a member of the PA, like a part of the Palestinian security apparatus that seemingly was operating in the Gaza Strip alongside the Israeli forces. But the very fact that he had Western gear on implies, because Palestinian collaborators like Yasser Abu Shabab, for example, do not get this level of gear from Israel. This seems to me like it was gear directly given to, this is Western gear, so it looks like it was gear directly given to especially considering that he was in the camp when he was apprehended and killed and apprehended. His body was apprehended and brought into the tunnels. It seems more likely that he was a mercenary. The terror group had aired a video showing a bloodied person being dragged along the ground in a tunnel and published images of military gear and submachine guns, which are not commonly used in the Israeli military. Hamas later also published a picture of the man's face without naming him. Palestinian media at the time identified the man as Khalil Dawaz, a Palestinian from the West Bank's Aqabat Jabr camp near Jericho. The report said Dawaz had been detained by Israel in the past. The Public broadcaster reports, without citing any sources, that the man whose body returned operated alongside security forces in searches of underground tunnels that was killed by Hamas terrorists a year and a half ago. Now, the reason why I don't think this was a Palestinian human shield that they were using is because of the weapons that he had on him. Because Palestinians, under the mosquito protocol, are used as human shields by the Israeli occupational forces in the Gaza Strip all the time. Having said that, however, they do not get arms. They do not give armor to the Palestinians that are being used as human shields, and they do not give weapons to the Palestinians that are being used as human shields. The Palestinians that are being used as human shields oftentimes don't even have shoes, as a matter of fact. They literally will put them with their hands cuffed in front of the Israeli troop positions, okay? Because obviously if they were to give those guys weapons, they could just as easily turn around and start fucking slaughtering the occupational forces, obviously. At most, the Palestinian human shield mosquito protocol is when they give them IDF fatigues. They don't even give them shoes usually, just IDF fatigues.
We're going to begin with a fragile ceasefire in Gaza that is holding for now.
Like when they say fragile ceasefire, it's really interesting because like they don't actually say it's a fragile ceasefire because of Israel, even though that is the reason why it's fragile. This is not a fragile ceasefire because of Hamas or anything. This is a fragile ceasefire because of Israel and Israel alone.
Now, in spite of new challenges, Israel claims this morning that one of the 4 bodies that Hamas handed over yesterday is actually not a hostage. Hamas has sent gunmen into the streets of Gaza, and there are images showing executions of people that the group calls collaborators and outlaws. Well, President Trump gave Hamas a stark warning yesterday. In his words, he says, if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. We'll have more on that in just a minute. But first, we're going to go to Tony. He's still in Tel Aviv, where he got an exclusive interview with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, Tony, I know you were due to fly back yesterday, but I say getting an exclusive with Mr. Netanyahu is worth sticking around for one more day. Good morning to you.
Yeah, this was big, Gail, so we did stick around, and we met up with the Prime Minister at Rabin Medical Center just after sunset. That's just outside of Tel Aviv here.
Yeah, our exclusive with Mr. Hitler. Very, very fun times, you know? I bet Double Cirque Tony fucking loves that opportunity. He's like, my goat, Mr. Adolf. You are so incredible.
On this current ceasefire to Palestinians' future.
Who is going to govern Gaza? The only names mentioned are Donald Trump and Tony Blair. Is Tony Blair going to be the president of Gaza?
I doubt it, but I think that this is a transitional period, and we want to fashion, a governance that works, that is not made of people who are committed to our destruction. Because if we put them there, then we'll just repeat it again and again and again. And we don't want to have the October 7th massacre repeated.
How do you de-radicalize the population in Gaza that wants to fight? You've got thousands of young men who have just spent 2 years enduring brutal war or fighting in this brutal war. And on the back of that,
how do you de-radicalize Gaza is such an arrogant display of Western chauvinism, but expected from the now Barry Weiss-controlled pro-Israel dish rag that is CBS News, which, of course, Tony DeKoppel was already a pro-Israel actor from the start, if you remember. It's just so unacceptable. How do we de-radicalize the victims of a genocide and not the genocidaires? Incredible. What do you expect from the likes of Double Cirque Tony?
Generations of struggle.
I think that you have to understand that Gaza is not uniform. There are Gazans who are fighting Hamas and are saying, we don't want this anymore. And a lot of people in Gaza now know that Hamas has brought catastrophic consequences to them because of its fanaticism. The most important thing in destroying fanaticism is to destroy a certain hope, the hope that the fanaticism will achieve its results. When people know Israel is here to stay, you're not going to destroy the Jewish state.
It's pretty crazy that this motherfucker, this evil motherfucker literally just said, yes, we want to kill the hope of Palestinian self-determination straight up. Like, he just said it. It's not like, it's not a read between the lines situation. He just straight up said, we must kill the hope of the Palestinians in terms of self-determination. And we still wonder who the evil party is here.
In a blunt moment, we asked the Prime Minister point blank what it would take for him to consider Israel's many conflicts to be over. And he responded in part, quote, the way to purchase peace is through strength. And it was military strength, at least as much as diplomacy, that he believes allowed Israel to win back the hostages that we met face to face just last night.
Do you still believe saying that Israel's most popular day today is, and so on? Yes. I do not believe that they will be able to recover their approval rating. They will try, but I think given the ways in which they will try through media manipulation and whatnot, it will only invoke more of an aggressive response towards those initiatives. They're far too arrogant and far too fascistic.
You know, that's not a perfect state. And I said, you're right, but it's perfectly aligned with reality.
So is that a reality you can imagine existing?
Well, it's a reality that if you had Palestinian governance that stopped teaching their kids to destroy the state of Israel, obviously if you have that and they educate them for peace, then I think you can have a different reality. But even under that reality, this could take generations. Israel has to be in control of the military power to prevent our destruction.
And I'll add just one more thing, guys, as I toss it back to you in New York. Just before we started rolling on that interview, I mentioned to the Prime Minister that his obituary, after the success of the last few days, will look very different today than it would have looked like 2 years ago. And he said in part, it's not his obituary that he's concerned about, it's his country's, which underscores once again, for Netanyahu, many of Israel's problems feel existential. And as we think about what's coming next in the ceasefire and for the future of the whole region, I think that's a real insight into his mindset as he looks out onto the world.
You're an American citizen. I understand the zealotry of a convert, which Tony is. That's why we call him Tony Double Cirque, because he got an adult circumcision after converting to Judaism. But god damn, dude, get his dick out of your fucking mouth. Clashes between ICE agents and protesters are escalating in Chicago.
This morning, tensions running high in multiple areas around President Trump's immigration crackdown. Overnight, Los Angeles County declaring a state of emergency in response to ICE raids. Officials voting to clear the way for financial assistance for residents they say have been negatively impacted by immigration raids. While in Chicago, clashes on the streets getting heated. Homeland Security says federal officers faced a hostile crowd after an undocumented immigrant rammed a Border Patrol vehicle while trying to flee an immigration operation. After a pursuit, agents crashed into the vehicle to stop it and arrested the suspects when a crowd grew. Chicago police responded to the scene and say some people threw objects at federal agents who deployed tear gas, exposing some in the crowd, including 13 Chicago police officers.
This type of escalation is what is going to cause harm. It's not the people of Chicago, but it's the federal agents.
It's the latest flare-up during the Trump administration's so-called Operation Midway Blitz. DHS posting this video celebrating 1,500 immigration-related arrests in the Chicago area since early September.
All of these cities, we want to clean them up.
But the dramatic confrontations come as Homeland Security officials are warning Mexican drug cartels are now offering cash bounties to target ICE officers and other federal agents, including $5,000 to $10,000 for kidnapping or assaulting officers, and up to $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials.
Our message to the cartels and these criminal rings, we're not backing down.
Why the fuck would the cartels actually try to dox and take out ICE agents when ICE agents are literally no longer trying to apprehend or disrupt cartel activity at the fucking border? I cannot explain this enough. The Trump administration's interior removal operations are the greatest gift that you could give to the fucking cartels. They literally have free reign to do whatever the fuck they want because the dudes, federal law enforcement, is too busy apprehending random Americans of Mexican descent. They're not busy taking down the cartel, which, by the way, if they wanted to, they'd have to, I guess, call up the DEA office and be like, hey, you guys need to dial it back on your drug trafficking, please, or the CIA. But everything that they're doing right now is actually completely against regular ass people that exist within the confines of the United States of America and unironically do not impede cartel activity at all. So why the fuck would the cartel be like, oh man, we hate that they're, what, deporting random day laborers? Yeah. They must hate that you guys are spending all your time, effort, and energy on deporting random people at fucking court hearings. That's what's really threatening the cartel, because everyone knows famously rugged cartel operators are always getting apprehended at their fucking immigrant court hearings, dude.